You are going to need your cocoa brick and some perlite in order to do this, as well as CalMag to soak the cocoa in to buffer. My brick is pretty big and thick and I can't break it up on my own, so I start mine out in the sink with a plug, soften it up with water so I can break it apart a little bit easier. You don't need a ton of water as it will soak it all up pretty easily. I then start scraping it off and adding it into my 5-gallon bucket, where I will begin soaking and straining it out before we start buffering it with our calcium and magnesium solution. One of these blocks for me fills about 3 to 4 5-gallon fabric pots with my 70-30 perlite mix, so I can get quite a bit of Coco Coir out of this for relatively cheap. After I have separated out the cocoa that I want to buffer, I will then fill my 5-gallon bucket and we can start clearing out the cocoa peat, which you don't want to have in your mix, as it will soak and hold in water, which you don't want with cocoa, as that will trap and deprive your plant of oxygen, as well as run the risk of killing your plant. I slowly do this process through a strainer to run off all of the excess cocoa peat and other salts and impurities and everything in there. And then I will add that to my 5-gallon fabric pot as I go through and slowly rinse each section out, pull any nasty chunks out, run the peat off, and otherwise clean it up. Once you have everything strained and cleaned out, it's then time to do the first round of buffering with that calcium magnesium solution. So I toss my fabric pot right back into the 5-gallon bucket and I mix up my 1-gallon solution of CalMag to be added to the bucket for the first round of buffering. I use General Hydroponics, Cali Magic. You can use this brand or whatever brand you want. I use an eyedropper to measure out. The 7.5 milliliters is what I do for the 1-gallon portion. I don't have a full gallon measuring cup, so I do 4-cup increments in 4 doses, with the first 4 cups having the CalMag solution, and then I will mix in everything afterward. That's just how I do it. If you have a better method, feel free to do yours. Once the full gallon is in the bucket, it completely submerges the Coco Coir and things can be easily mixed in. So I'm not worried about haphazardly dumping this in, as everything will get mixed in pretty well once that full solution is in. You will end up doing this twice. For each buffer, I let the Coco Coir sit in the CalMag solution for 8 to 10 hours, depending on my day, how long I am gone. It's not really going to hurt it if it sits longer, but you should at least do it for a minimum of 8 hours. Typically what I'll do is cover the bucket while it's sitting, just so nothing gets in it, nothing spills, things like that. And once the 8 hours are up, we can pull the pot out and do the second portion. It will be the same exact measurements for the second round of buffering, that 1 gallon mix with 7.5 milliliters of the CalMag solution. Tap water is fine to use for this portion, but when you start adding your plants, you will want to make sure that that pH is balanced to the correct increments for whatever plant you are growing. Same thing here, put the fabric pot back in your 5-gallon bucket, fill so the entire cocoa mix is submerged in that solution, cover and let sit for another 8 hours or so. And you should only have to buffer this twice. I like to do it twice just to ensure that everything is really soaked in and there's no issue with the cocoa absorbing nutrients when I want the plant to have those nutrients. So now that the 8 hours are up, pull that pot out and dump the solution. Now we can add in our perlite. I like to do a 70-30 mix of coco-to-perlite, which usually adds up to 5 to 6 cups of perlite, more or less depending on how full your fabric pots are. These are not 100% full here. I do have some other pots with the rest of the Coco Coir that I will be filling them to the brim afterwards when the plant is transplanted. But be sure to mix up the perlite thoroughly. Don't forget to get the bottoms of the pot, as that can be easily forgotten about once it seems like everything is mixed at the top. But that is pretty much how you buffer and ready your cocoa for your plants. I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, comment below and follow for more. Bye.